Welcome to the Environmental Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Grady, and today's guests are Breitner Marczewski and Ray Howard. They're the sustainability engineers and leaders for General Motors. And today we're going to talk about General Motors' road to sustainability. Thanks for joining, guys.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having us.
us.
Yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be great. So many people have been watching the industry and the automotive industry transform over the past few years and really kind of put their head around sustainability and put practices and procedures and programs in place. And you guys are on the front lines of this. So let's dig in and talk about what you guys are doing. And, maybe one of you guys can give us a high level overview on GM's environmental sustainability goals.
Sure, I can get started if that's okay, Ray. All right. So, our sustainability goals, they derive from our company vision of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestions. So, under the zero emissions pillar, our goals are heavily focused on improving our operations, but it also touches the scope 3, which includes using the vehicles that we make. For operations, the main goal is definitely the becoming carbon neutral by 2040.
Okay.
This is 10 years ahead of the Paris Agreement. So we also completed the development of all of our science-based targets for
Mm-hmm.
scope 1, 2, and 3. And for the audience, scope 1 are the emissions that we generated within our operations. Scope 2 are the emissions that we generated from purchasing electricity, natural gas from utilities. And scope 3 involves using our products. So for an automotive company, the majority of our emissions will come from using our vehicles because they are still using internal combustion engines, which runs on oil. But we are changing that as we transition to EVs. So developing these targets are really important to drive the strategic decisions for GM so we can make sure the goals we have in place are on the right track.
Well, that's good. I mean, so there's a lot of focus on transforming into more of this EV manufacturing process. Definitely seems like a lot of efforts going into retrofitting and changing the way you guys manufacture the all the cars. I mean, how's the pandemic kind of helped you guys? I guess maybe expedite this transition.
That's a great question. I can provide a few thought starters, and Ray, please feel free to jump in.
Sure, we can definitely do that. I was wondering if we could maybe go back to the original question about the goals. There were a couple more items that we wanted to include.
Oh, okay. Well, Ray, feel free jump in real quick.
Okay, so as we're talking about our goals, Breitner mentioned the science-based targets, our renewable energy, and our energy efficiency. We also wanted to make sure that we talked about our water efficiency as our waste reduction goal. So we have a zero waste goal, which is a 90% of diversion rate. So that means
Mhm.
that we're not looking to incinerate or to burn any of our waste items or to landfill. In addition to that, we are working on looking at some sustainable materials, some sustainable packaging, both in our supply chain as well as within some of our consumer products, which will be things like under the AC Delco brand, and even looking at a sustainable supply chain. So as we're working with the many suppliers that we have within GM to commit to our sustainability goals and work together as partners going forward with our actual goals. So those are some additional items I wanted to make sure that we included with our environmental commitments. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, that's good because the suppliers that help you get there, to achieve these goals are hugely important, right? I mean, so we'll talk a little bit about, what team. I mean, there's a big team here. There's this, sustainability office, so to speak, within GM, right? That you guys are all kind of rolled up under. At least the practitioners within GM, that's focusing on sustainability. What role and what group do you guys mainly focus your efforts on?
Ray, would you like to
Sure.
stab that
So
one
we
first?
certainly on that one. So we partner with several different organizations within General Motors. We do have a chief sustainability officer as well as an office of sustainability that includes cross-functional partners from our planning organization, our purchasing organization, our engineering organization, and even some of our other teams within General Motors. So it's definitely a team effort in which all of us participate. Again, that Breitner and I roll up under depends on the chief sustainability officer as well as the senior manager. Our team is called the ESG Strategies team. So that's Environmental, Social, and Governance Sustainability Strategies team. And we focus on reporting. So these would be creating our annual sustainability report as well as our annual submission. So things to like S&P Global as well as like EcoVadis and CDP. So there are several different things in which we submit and provide information. In addition to that, our team looks at things like human rights and the social sustainability. We also look at ways in which we can engage our team members and look at environmental sustainability. So there are several different parts to our team, and our team currently is focused on things like packaging, circularity, and nature. So those are some of the things in which our organization is working on. Breitner, would you like to share some additional items?
Well, I think that was a very comprehensive answer, Ray. Thank you so much. I just would um, offer some 2 cents here based on the history of our sustainability team. GM has this group for many, many years, and being new to the company, I've seen this team grow so much. There's a huge interest across the corporations, across supply chain, um, and many other stakeholders. So it's really awesome to see this major interest and have, grassroots groups within the company providing us ideas how they can collaborate with the sustainability team to so we can meet our goals. So it's been an awesome journey, and seeing everything grow in a kind of natural way, it's been a quite of an experience.
Hmm. Well, you guys talked about reducing waste, and that was a big one. And I know that GM has had quote unquote the resource manager or management kind of a program that's been deployed across many of its operating locations. It's focused on waste minimization and managing the waste properly and zero landfill. So you guys have been doing that for many years, and so I think there's
Yes.
a lot of good historical data there that's helping you kind of track that information. Um, but you also kind of talk about circularity, and that seems to be something that's probably popped up a little more newer in the process or the evolution of your management process. Talk a little bit about some of your circular economy type focuses associated with the products you're buying, the vendors you're using, how the cars are repurposed, maybe when they're done end of use.
Well, certainly, circularity is definitely a large focus of our organization. We have recently have a new team member that is a senior circularity engineer. So her focus is looking at how circular we are as a corporation, as well as some of our individual components. So those could be components that are used in the remanufacture or our customer cares and after sales area, or things that are used as original equipment. So as we talk about remanufacture, we recently had some articles to get put together from our remanufacture team about some headlamps that we are doing. And this is something brand new for GM. And we are really excited about the efforts that we are making and things that we are doing with the headlamp space. So definitely more things to come. And GM has done a lot in the realm of remanufacture, especially in terms of engines and transmissions and other parts. So there are several things that we do globally throughout the industry for that. So we are very excited on circularity and looking at more things to come as we're looking to do more design for circularity and design for disassembly in the future.
Oh, that's really
And that's
good.
just like the tip of the iceberg, because um, we can cascade that down to the operations, right? We think about circularity, It literally means having a very resilient supply chain, ensuring we have enough materials to manufacture our vehicles, our products, making sure we will have the strategic resources here in the country, and enabling the circular economy can create multiple jobs in the recycling industry, and huge
Yeah.
and very well paying jobs. So it's a mission that where everybody wins. And tying that to the zero waste goal we talked a little bit earlier, right? Um, Last year we achieved 86.4 diversion rate. That means
That's
our
great.
operational waste, yes, it's huge.
That's huge.
Our operation waste, 86.4% was recycled, reused, um,
Repurposed.
composted,
Yeah.
repurposed. It never ended up in the landfill nor incinerators, which is extremely important. And that's how we set up ourselves bold goals to keep us outside of our comfort zone. And that's how we drive the change we want to
I love
see
it.
and create a world, a sustainable world for today and future generations.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is really good. Well, let's dig into a little bit of how is GM reducing carbon emission by transforming its world-class manufacturing footprint to produce EVs?
That's a great question, too. Ray, I can get started here.
Oh, certainly. And then I'll jump in.
Yes,
Uh,
Ray is the brain of our sustainability mission here.
I'm
She's a
glad we
wealth
have
of
her on the
knowledge. You will
call.
see. Oh yes, you are well served. I'll do my best here, but essentially we are running as fast as we can to keep the pace with the changing happening in the automotive industry. We are allocating more than $53 billion from 2020 to 2025 to develop the new EVs and also the autonomous vehicles. So that means that by 2025, our EV portfolio will grow. And that's again to keep it up with the current demand. In thinking about the prices of gasoline today, if that persists, the demand will only increase. So recently we launched the new Cadillac Lyric, which is absolutely stunning in terms of design and performance. We have the GMC Hummer, which is incredible performance of more than 350 miles on a full range. So this change is happening, and we will not stop until everybody's in. Everyone will be able to drive an amazing EV. That's the goal.
That's a
As
bold
we're look
goal.
Definitely so. And as we're looking at that goal, as Breitner mentioned, our goal is that everyone can have an EV. So we have a Bolt EV. So we're looking at affordable EVs as well as luxury EVs. So Breitner mentioned a lot about the Cadillac Lyric and also the Hummer EV. In addition to that, we have planned a Silverado, a pickup truck EV, and even some smaller vehicles. So I mentioned the Bolt EV, that one is available now. And we have several different price points for our EVs. We want everyone to be able to afford them and to use them. So our goal is truly to find the designs and also the price points in which we can get as many consumers as possible. We've done lots and lots of research on consumers and also on the industry itself to see what are some of the design trends that are appealing to our customers and also the price points in which we could get more customers to join us. Our goal again is for everybody to be in on an EV, and we're looking to take everybody within our organization along on that journey. So we have an EV Grow organization that's looking to develop and increase our market share. So with that organization, they have several different outlets and groups in which we are looking at EV adoption. One thing that we haven't mentioned yet is our Climate Equity Fund. This year, GM doubled our investment, which is now up to $50 million. And with that, it is for us to look at how we can have an equitable equitable transition into electric vehicles. So that is rural areas, that's urban areas. What are some things that we can do to ensure that everyone has access to the technology?
Yeah, I guess, I think some of the biggest challenges I've seen related to EVs, and I guess the concerns in the industry or in society is the lack of charging stations or the ability to, fuel up, if you're in, close to, expending your fuel or your battery storage capabilities. I think that's a big concern. And, we haven't as a society, developed enough of the charging stations across the country to adequately, I guess, meet the demand. I could be wrong, but I felt like that we still have a lot of work to do there. And is GM involved with helping, scale those types of resources across the country?
So there are several really smart people that are working in several different organizations, whether that is within GM or within some collaborations, and helping to get that further fostered. So as you're talking about charging stations across the U.S., and as I mentioned earlier, our climate equity fund, so we're looking at ways to ensure that people that live in apartment buildings or multiple unit dwellings also have access to that technology. So whether that would be in parking lots or at shopping centers or grocery stores, or even some of the changeovers to maybe some traditional fueling stations now to maybe become EV charging stations. So there are several things that are in the works. Breitner and I are not experts in those areas, but there are several different people that are working on that. So just know that there are folks within GM, and I'm quite sure outside of GM, that are definitely working in that area.
Well,
And we
yeah,
do have
go ahead.
some programs, Sean, like supporting families purchasing their charging station for their garages. For example, we facilitate those services. But again, EVs are new. It's a maturing technology that people are adopting more and more and more in a very fast pace.
Yeah.
So with help from the federal government, in the technology improving, I'm very confident that the automotive sector will switch to electric vehicles, and we will be able to meet the demands from the customers to reduce the anxiety, the range anxiety by improving the technology in the battery. We'll drive more with a single charge. We'll be able to charge them faster, and they will be able to find those charging stations much closer to where they are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, 350 miles on a full charge, that's basically a tank of gas here now, in most cars. So that kind of erases a lot of the concern about how long I need to, charge up and how far I can go. So that's really good. I mean, I know other suppliers are also helping with, uh, you know, consumers and buyers of their vehicles also deploy or buy a charging station for their home. Is GM planning to have some sort of a tandem offering? Like if you buy a GM car, you can also get a GM type charging, system for your home. Are they offering deals or packages like that, you think, or will that be part of the future?
As I mentioned before, we do have some process in place that facilitate that business to happen in order to support the customers. Everything we do, we have the customer in mind to make sure they are, satisfied with our products and
Hmm.
services.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds great. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. So, well, you touched on the circular economy perspective and how you're working with OEMs, but how are you helping them or working with them to source sustainable materials?
So, our materials engineering group, as well as our advanced engineering team and even our design team, are looking at several different options and alternatives. So, what are some ways in which we can reduce carbon emissions in our materials going forward? So, we're investigating several different types of materials and several different products that can help us along that journey. So, whether those products would be in the metal space or in the plastic space, there are several different work streams that are happening. And even with that, as we're looking at certifications of some of our raw material suppliers to see if that could help us to understand a little bit better in terms of where they're sourcing some of the materials. and what are some of our traceability steps on the materials that are coming in.
I see. Okay. Brezhner, you got anything you want to add to that, that was a pretty good summary there for Ray?
The only thing I will add in terms of supply chain and the sustainable materials is that we recently launched the Suppliers Pledge for Climate Action and Human Rights. That would increase the collaboration between GM and our suppliers to reduce Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, and also increase transparency in their data on their labor and human rights policies through EcoVadis. Um, Already, more than 53% of our supply chain has committed to this pledge, and that represents more than $76 billion in direct material purchases. So we're very proud of that, and we hope to increase the percentage more over the near future.
Wow. So, I mean, that's a good, I know you guys have the supplier network. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but there's a supplier network that you work with your suppliers to all have a common, OEM manufacturers and other contractors to meet these sustainability goals. You know, I'm assuming that they're all pledging to, basically provide you, this information that you're expecting or requesting, and partnering with you, bringing you good ideas, right?
Yes, definitely. So they are truly working with us as committed individuals. We have a Supplier Sustainability Council that helps us in determining what are some things that we can do with our overall supply base. And you're right, we do have a large supplier network in which we work with them. And we also get ideas from them in terms of what are some things that we can do, what are some things that our suppliers are already doing that we can share with others. So, for example, with our suppliers, we have workshops and we have meetings with them on how to host treasure hunts for energy, for water, for waste. So those are some things that we are offering to them in ways in which we can all work together for the greater good. So truly, it's a collaboration and a partnership with the suppliers, with GM. So we're all supporting each other in our sustainability endeavors.
That's good. I mean, so one of the things that caught my eye when I was, kind of perusing the website was this emissions. Your CO2 emission impacts that you're really trying to, reduce, especially in your supply chain. And you guys have signed up an agreement with Nucor Steel for this net zero carbon steel products. I mean, do you have information you can share about how important that is to help you guys meet your sustainability goals?
So the agreement with Nucor is fairly new, and that's something that started recently. And with that, we received our newer shipments earlier this year. And Nucor has described their material as net zero. So we're very excited about that and excited to be one of the first OEMs to participate in this with Nucor. So it will definitely help us. As we mentioned some of our commodity teams earlier and talking about how they're working, this will be commodity teams like the metals team, like some of the plastics teams and some of our textiles teams, and looking at reducing carbon emissions using the Nucor steel, and this is specifically their iconic brand, was something that will help us to reach some of those goals. But yes, we are excited about that partnership as we are excited with some of our other supplier partnerships as well. So it's something that we're excited about, and we're looking to do more of those things in the future. And that Nucor development was a press release, and it's also included in our sustainability report. This is the 10th year for GM Sustainability Report. So if any of the listeners have not seen it yet, please take an opportunity to look it up. And it's under GM Sustainability. And that way you can see that development as well as many others that we have done in the past year.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Can you guys talk a little bit about some of your examples of some maybe your design thinking that has gone into, handling some of the, the circular economy projects that you're working on, or your waste management and water management type jobs? Talk a little bit about what goes into that from your perspective for the listeners, if you could.
Yes, I think the design thinking process means to eliminate waste and find a solution to a problem. And that's very applicable to curtailing waste generation within a manufacturing process. So you ideate the idea, then you brainstorm solutions, you try that on the field, you see the first results, and then you scale fast if it works, or you just eliminate the idea and pivot to something else. That's one of the big process we have in place under the zero waste program, which is heavily tied to circular economy. So when we go to the manufacturing floor, we follow the lean manufacturing practices, such as to go and see. So you put yourself in the shoes of the environmental engineers and try to understand, okay, what problems do you have today managing your waste streams? What waste streams are most critical to you? So you develop the materiality assessment based on their location, their manufacturing processes, and then you start to ask why this happens and where the problem is coming from. So you identify the root cause, and with the list of problems identified, you brainstorm the solutions, you put the business case together, and then you go after the ones that will be most beneficial for the strategic goal you set for the company.
Mm-hmm.
Zero waste is based on mass, so we are more interested in projects that can reduce and divert waste streams from landfill and incinerators. So that's the strategy behind the thought process in reducing waste.
Oh, that's really good. Any other design thinking concepts, Ray, you'd like to contribute there, or did Resner get that pretty well?
Yeah, Breitner did an excellent job in sharing that. I will provide maybe a practical example. So
Yeah.
internally at GM, we have an annual sustainability symposium, and this is where employees share some of the actions and works that they are doing to pivot or propel GM a little bit further in our sustainability efforts. So in our very first year of having the sustainability symposium, we had over 268 different ideas that were part of a tackle. And so a tackle for us is like a way to think quickly, to design new projects and ideas that we can move forward with. So we had 268 of them that came forward on that very first sustainability symposium. We were very excited with that, and there were different methods and ideas in which we moved forward and gained access and experience with. And one of
Mm-hmm.
those we actually provided as a presentation to two of our senior executives, and they took action and we actually implemented that one. So we're very excited. So think of it as kind of a Shark Tank, but an internal Shark Tank for GM. So we were very excited with that. And we do the design thinking concepts and thoughts and theories. We have several teams in which we are engaged with that in GM. And now we're using some of those design thinking concepts with circularity, as well as we have our own specific circularity concepts that we are using for design. So we're combining the two of those, so design thinking concepts as well as circularity design concepts, and putting some of those together and looking at what can we do, or what are some things that we could potentially do in the future. So that's something that we're very excited about and a new and developing area for us.
Oh,
So
that's great.
if you remember, Sean, in the beginning of the conversation when we talk about, hey, sustainability is growing so much here in the company, so you do a symposium here in Warren, Michigan, and you have more almost 300 people participating. It's a lot. There's a
Yeah.
lot of interest, and tapping onto those resources, can generate this massive benefit for the company. Not only the bottom line, talking about cost, but the way you operate, you improve everybody's life, you improve your products, you improve your services. So it's a major win-win, and we've seen that happening, and it's pretty cool.
Oh, no, that's fantastic. When you get a whole team of people contributing, it can make a big difference quickly, right? Because everybody's motivated. Well, let's talk a
Yes.
little bit about your GM EV battery lifecycle management program, the LCM. Give us a little background on what you guys are doing to address battery recycling of these EV batteries.
Yes, I can offer first thought starters here. Um, Recently, we announced a partnership with Lifecycle. Uh, it's a company that will take in our batteries from manufacturing operations and will recycle them. The process is so efficient that can recover more than 95% of the materials from the batteries. It's like recycling glass essentially. So it's a true circular economy process. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that's what we want to see more happening across the country. One company alone won't be able to address the big demand of
Yeah.
the the automotive sector in the US. So at least the technology is there. Is not something that we need to brainstorm, go to MIT and try to create that from scratch. It's something that already exists and it's very efficient. So those partnerships will happen more. There's a big team looking to many other opportunities to reuse the batteries at the end of life, or whether they should go to a recycling such as life cycle.
That's great.
Yes, we're mentioning batteries. We might also want to remember the traditional batteries that we have in our internal combustion engine vehicles today. So, as we look at the processes and even the recycling of those, we are well over 90% in recycling a traditional battery. So, with that, as we're talking about EV batteries, to do the same thing there is something that we are looking to do, and it should be, again, mainstay and not a surprise or a shock because it's something we're doing today with traditional batteries. So with that, we just want to make sure that that's part of the discussion as well, and that there are several different groups and organizations that are looking at what are some things that we can do to reuse and regenerate some of this material and alternative uses for some of the batteries. So there are many folks that are working on creative solutions for this area.
Well, it sounds like, you everything you guys are doing, it has this goal and this mindset of, circular economy, sustainability, reuse, recycle. I mean, this whole process of being a closed loop is really baked into the core of what you guys are, doing right now. Is that safe to say? I mean, it seems like it.
Yes, it's fairly accurate. The goals, think about this, the goals, you do the materiality assessment. What is important for different stakeholders, internal and external? For an automotive industry, climate change should be a big one, and if you see in the sustainability report, it will be fairly on top. So how to get there, how to address that concern, it's what drives all these other innovative solutions: energy reduction, water improvements, waste elimination, partnerships, bringing suppliers, all of that. It meant to improve the way the company is running today, so we are in business for the next 100 years.
Well, what are some of the challenges you currently see to maybe overcome maybe some internal barriers that are kind of help maybe not quite letting you get to where you want to be right now? Like there's a few things that we still need to kind of tackle, so to speak. You talked about Ray having a group of tackling issues. What, is there anything out there that's kind of like on the top of mind?
So as I think of top of mind challenges, one of the biggest things that I think that we are looking at internally is sharing our story. How can we communicate the things that we are doing more often and make more people aware? There are several great things that are happening within GM, and we just want to make sure that we share some of those things externally so folks will understand that truly this is a part of our everyday life and things that we're doing as part of our overall commitments to the realm of sustainability. So we mentioned several of our corporate commitments earlier. We are definitely making progress towards each and every one of those commitments, and we want to make sure that we show that on an ongoing basis and not just as a one-time shot during our annual report. So again, we're looking at more ways to share some of the great things that we're doing as a great challenge.
And one of the answers for this challenge is just being here with you, Sean, talking about things that we're doing. So we are very appreciative of the opportunity to be here to talk of the great things our teams are working on. Rest assured, there's people putting their hearts and minds and soul into all of these projects, making sure our products are safe, making sure our processes are clean, and we will achieve the vision of creating a world with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestions.
Well, this has been good. Let's dig into a little bit of maybe a case study, if we could, just to kind of talk about a project that you guys maybe, you know, familiar with, or you take some pride in, that you've been solving a big problem for GM. One may be, this maybe potentially a foundry sand type recycling project or something. Talk about what you guys are doing as a case study that can shed light on the expertise and the focus of some of your projects.
I can offer this. You mentioned foundry sand. I think that's my arena. I love you talk about that one. It's definitely one of the projects that I'm very, very proud. Everything is started with a brainstorm session going to our plant in Defiance. We had the team from Defiance, the team from Saginaw here in Michigan. Um, Foundry Center, for the listeners who doesn't know, it's a big waste stream that we generated here at GM from the casting operations. So imagine you have your melted aluminum and other metals. You put in this casing, this shape as the motor or other parts, and that sand will host the melted the metal. So once the metal solidifies, you shake that mold and you break the sand, and then you have your product. But the sand now is kind of polluted. You went to so many processes, it has to be discarded or cleaned before so you are able to reuse.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that particular plant, we are not able to clean the sand, so it's currently was going to landfill, and we found out a way to reuse that sand in Saginaw. So you're taking sand from Ohio, shipping that to Michigan, and reusing the same sand in their process. They were able to validate through their quality controls, and it met all the standards. And it was just a matter of being bold and try something different. So when you have a company that supports you to be innovative, creative, and trying things, and then escalate the the process when the results are favorable, it's fantastic, because then you're driving results. So when you read a sustainability report, we've been able to do that since last year, and we'll continue doing as long as the process allows us to. So it's an
Well,
amazing example.
so like that project right there, I mean, you had a great outcome to reuse the material, but talk a little bit about the cost savings that was generated from this. I mean, and also the contribution of meeting your zero waste to landfill goals.
Yes, in terms of waste being diverted, it definitely helped with a percentage of 86.4%. Any tonnage we can eliminate going from land to landfill and incinerators will help with that percentage. Um, Cost wise, it reduces the cost of purchasing virgin sand for processes, so it has an impact on the bottom line as well. So it was definitely a win-win for GM.
Yeah, right. No, that's really good. Well, look, I mean, you guys are doing a lot. Are there any other, sustainability issues or concerns or successes you want to highlight before we let you go?
There are lots of things to highlight, honestly, too many for us to say in this short amount of time before we go. We do want to make sure that people have an opportunity to see our sustainability report, where there are great details on things that we're doing with our suppliers, things that we're doing with materials, and we include like some of the weight of recycling that we have through the year. We talk about our GM store, some of our other diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So please take an opportunity to check out our sustainability report. It's available under gmsustainability.com.
Yeah, no, we'll make sure we get people to go out and check that out and put a link in the website so when we post it, people know how to easily get there. That'll be good. Um, Well, you know what, Brezhner and Ray, thanks for coming on the show today. I know you've got a lot of things going on. You're handling lots of opportunities and helping GM meet these new sustainability goals and reduce carbon emissions and help suppliers do the same. And it's really exciting to hear how GM is transforming and its road to sustainability is looking pretty bright, if you ask me.
Excellent. We totally agree. And we are challenging all of your listeners to please, please, please take a ride in one of our new GM vehicles, including the all new Cadillac Lyric, as well as looking at that Hummer EV. We have EVs for everyone, including that Boat EV. So please check some of them out.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I mean, I'm excited to see all the new models coming out. And, you say by 2025, you should have a pretty good fleet of a lot of these out there. I mean, that's just a couple years away now. And, if they're affordable for the common man, so to speak, out there, I think you're going to see a lot of people just pulling the trigger and starting buying these things.
Sean, you don't have to see, you have to own, and you will.
Hey, that sounds good. I think I might have to do that here pretty soon. My Cadillac is getting a little old in the tooth here, so it's 2013. I think I'm about due for a new one.
There you go. We can
Uh,
help you with that, I think.
I'm sure you can. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show today. Well, we're going to get people interested in your sustainability reports online. And thank you for all the things you're doing for sustainability and the environment and at GM. And we look forward to continuing the conversation and staying connected. Okay.
All right. Thanks
Wonderful.
for the opportunity.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye
you. Bye
bye.
bye.